All right, guys. Boom. I'm here. We're going to do a daily sketch. I've got my references pulled up on Pinterest on my computer that's to the side of me. This brush I'm using is called Syrup. It's in the inking section. I've altered mine. This is what the original one looks like. It's just a pretty basic brush. Really nice. Feels fantastic in Procreate. But I like to alter mine. So the one I'm using is I've upped the jitter and the spacing. I'm going to drop the jitter a little bit though, because that jitter's a bit crazy now. But there we go. That's how I like my syrup brush to look. It has like some janky lines going on. So we don't get that perfect line. We get a bit of teeth, right? So what I'm going to be doing is some very much kind of like shape builded, kind of like painterly ink type drawings, right? I'm even questioning whether we should even start with this brush per se. I think maybe we should start with something else, maybe some shapes, right? But for the first one, we'll start with just this brush. So in the editing process, I'm only saying this because I like to edit quite fast. I may show you guys the references that I'm using, but I'm not 100% following the references. I'm just using them as kind of like loose guides to kind of steer me creatively, because through my entire life, and I've said this multiple times on this channel, I haven't used that much reference. And in my opinion, it's a big loss artistically if you're not using reference. You should be using reference all the time. It really helps the process. It helps everything. And there's multiple reasons why reference is so good. Number one, and I need to, for me, this is the biggest one. Everything around you was created by somebody, or it was created by God, right? And there's thousands of years of human creation, and there's, thousands of years or millions and billions of years of God's creation. And you'd rather, this is how I look at it. I'm pretty much talking to myself when I say this. I would rather a lot of the time just try and create everything myself instead of using the beautiful things that have been provided for me by the universe, by God, by humans, right? So that's how I look at it. I'm looking at it like, well, you're wasting a lot of the things that were given to you. So another way I like to speak about it, like I like to draw samurais. Like, as you can see right now, this is kind of like a samurai, and I'm actually using reference this time. So it might look a little bit more than like a samurai than my regular stuff does. And I say that because I've drawn lots of samurais, right? Now, with reference, you can get something that is pretty accurate to how samurai armor looks to a degree. Without reference, what ends up happening is you make your assumption of what things look like, and they're not actually the accurate version unless you've drawn thousands of samurai armors from reference. That's the key difference. People that use a lot of reference, they can pull back a lot of the stuff they've done from reference and create it again more convincingly than people that don't use reference. So me being somebody that doesn't use reference, I can create a cool looking character in armor, but it won't really be a samurai. And that's the thing I wanted to kind of like make people understand, is that by not using reference, and most people do, I'm talking to a very small minority of people, people like me that are probably a little bit weird, that had some kind of weird pride and ego about this art thing, that they shouldn't have had. It's not an egotistical thing. It's an art form. It's collaborative. I'm talking to people like me that just didn't do it when they should have, and then the times that they did, they had great success. Even in the infancy of their career or of their development as an artist. I remember I did an Afro samurai piece, and I remember I went into my garden and I shot reference of myself holding a pole so I could do this Afro samurai piece. And bloody hell, even now, even today, I drew this piece in 2009, and I used like mainly airbrush and Photoshop. I'd love to repaint it, but even now, when I look at that piece, I am not disappointed at what I did. I'm like, whoa, this is this is pretty cool. So I would say, that being said, the fact that it's 2024 right now, and that was in 2009, that being said, reference is probably key, and not using it, for me, seems like a huge blunder, and an L. So I'm looking at this arm right now, boom, boom, and I'm thinking, well, I think maybe I've kind of plotted this wrong, but I'll make it work because I'm the guy, And what I like to do is, when I do these sketches as well, I like to take the reference and innovate kind of in terms of how I'm going to execute certain things. So for example, the reference doesn't cut off the same way as where I'm going to cut off my image. Not at all. But I'm going to classify that as like an innovation and just take liberties. But I want people to understand, you can do that. There's no rules, right? This is a daily sketch. This is you getting some practice in. This is you, coming to yourself and decided to go forward and make some work happen. So there's not really any rules. There's no parameters. There's no ego. There's no pride. We're just coming in. We're doing some sketching. We're getting some practice in. We're having fun. We're enjoying the process a little bit here and there. And that's kind of how I look at it. For the most part, when I do these, they are a bit of fun. And I think it's important as well to create for fun. I think that is probably the best way to improve, is creating for fun. Like, I remember back when YouTube, this is years ago, I'm showing my age now. Back when YouTube had DMs, you could DM your favorite creators. And I remember there's a guy called Chris Sculf, and if I can find him on socials, I'm going to reach out to him. I'm going to thank him, right? For all his videos early on, early YouTube. This guy was 2008, 2009, early. When I was at college and stuff, when I was like 16. So this guy, Chris Sculf, used to put out all these videos during those times. And they were some of the coolest speed paints, and he used to drop gems. He used to show tricks, like some techniques he would use to kind of get certain lighting setups and stuff like that. And I still use a lot of his techniques today. And I remember I DM'd him, and he said to me, just draw what excites you and what you like to draw, and you will improve. Then, funnily enough, one of my favorite artists of all time, Jack Kirby, and me saying that's interesting because I'm pretty sure Jack Kirby's a lot of people's favorite artist of all time. So if you're into comics, man, maybe not, but for me, that original stuff is just so crazy good. Like, anyway, I remember Jack Kirby saying, as an artist, if you like, if you want to improve, you'll improve, because you'll look at what's wrong and you'll make it right. And I remember Jack Kirby saying this years ago. Like, I remember him just dropping that gem. And he just looked at it. The way he said it to the guy that was interviewing him was so, like, blatant and plain. He didn't say it in a special way. He didn't try and make himself seem mystical. He said, if you want to be an artist, and this is the truth of it, you will see what's wrong and you will try and make it right. And you will find a way to make it right. And it's the same with everything, I'm telling you. Everything. If you want to because I coach basketball, right? I'm from the UK, and we have a niche basketball scene over here, but it's massively growing because of Instagram. And I coach community kids, or community young people up to the age of 18. And I'm telling you, the ones that want to get good at ball, they dedicate themselves and they learn. And you can coach them. Coaching's always important, but it's the real people that get good are the people that take it upon themselves, right? So when I was at college, for example, there was people that just weren't getting better at graphic design because they weren't accountable. They didn't care about graphic design. They took the course because they thought it would be cool. Then there was the people that cared about graphic design. And you see those people's skill level skyrocket, because they're dedicated and they love it, right? There is a difference in energy between the people that love it and the people that don't. And that is really all there is to this drawing thing. It's not, it's not self-persecution. You're not on trial. Get some reference, do some sketches. There's no rules. No one's going to stand over you and say, oh, that's wrong. You just get it in. You just get the work in. You put the work in. And that's literally the same with basketball, Now, there is such a thing as practicing the wrong things. There is such a thing as, putting in the wrong type of work. Absolutely. You can practice the wrong things. But practice is still good if you're practicing. And then at some point you should find out, or you should get some friends that do this, that do art or that do design, and you guys should compare notes, and they can tell you what you're doing wrong and say, hey, your proportions are off, or hey, when you're drawing this, your character's gestures are bad. They can tell you a bunch of stuff that you can't really see, and then you can tell them a bunch of stuff that they can't see. I used to have a friend who used to come to my house when I was young. The only other digital artist I knew, or the only other artist that I really kind of knew that really drew and painted in the black community. And he never got good at rendering. Like he could never render forms very well at all. His forms looked so bad I honestly now I'm thinking it's probably due to autism or something like that. Because I'm good friends with his cousin. But he could just never render forms. For whatever reason, I don't know why, he just couldn't do it. He never developed that skill, and I still don't think he really has. But he used to give me criticism, he used to tell me about my proportions, he used to tell me I need to learn to animate, all these things that he was right about, because I love animation. Like I'm literally, after I've done this sketch session, maybe I've done an hour, 2 hours doing these, I'm going straight into either Procreate Dreams or Adobe Fresco. I'm going to do some animation because I love animation and I've always loved animation. Why does that keep escaping? Whoa, okay, I see you. Sorry. I was wondering why that wasn't filling. It was really stressing me out. Now I see why. Touche, Procreate. Touche. Boom. But yeah, back to my point. The ones that are dedicated. The ones of us that are dedicated, we will always improve. And we will always improve quick because we care and we love this, especially if you're giving it daily work, right? I'm not saying I do, because I don't. I try to, but I don't always make it because I have family, I have another business, I do other things. And I also coach basketball, but whenever I can get it in, this is another reason I like to take public transport, because it gives me some time to open Procreate and mess around and see what I can do within, the 20, 30 minute public transport tram rides I have to take damn near daily. I like to see what I could get done in that time, a lot of the time. So, but that'll be over soon, because I'm going to be driving soon, so it's kind of like a bit of a mad one. But that is one of the reasons like public transport has been useful to me, because I can do some artwork while I'm on the tram, because the tram's relatively steady. It's not like a bus, it doesn't move as much, But that's a lot about me. Boom. Okay. Cool. This is looking kind of cool. Okay, so what I do real quick is get some gray in there, man. Get some gray in there. Boom. So my initial idea was to pretty much have these sketches be like I wanted the starting of the process to be grey, to be fair. I wanted like to carve forms out and fill the forms, but obviously I started off with line. So for the next one I might do forms then line, straight after. So forms interline, and then see how I feel about that, and then go from there. 1 second, I need to figure out why this isn't filling correctly. There don't seem to be any gaps in there. There's a gap. There we go. Boom. Go back. Here we are. So the sword will be a different grey. Just quickly just use the lasso tool to fill that in. Hit color fill. We'll just boom, 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 boom. A little bit of gold for the. This is the only part of the piece that's gonna have color. Oddly enough, it's gonna be the only part, and people are gonna have to accept that. Okay, so looking at lighter values for the teeth and stuff. So you can do so much with just a few different tones of grey. That's why I kind of wanted to do these. I want to just mess around and just show that. So I'll make a new layer and I'll clip and mask it, right? And then when I've done that, literally I'm going to drag this out and I'm just going to start messing around with a few different shades here and there. Just messing around, just doing a little bit here and there, not going too crazy. Just adding things, just adding a little bit, establishing stuff here and there. Just establishing like a one-tone shadow, you know. There we go. Boom. And just like that, the piece has started to take on some of its own life, hasn't it? I'll quickly go to this layer and I'll go under it. I'm going to go under the bottom layer. I'm just going to basically add a slightly off-white for the skin of this guy. So now he's off-white underneath. Okay. Okay. Go back to the shadow layer. And we can add one more layer of shadow. I'm going to use another layer for this, just because I might not even like that layer of shadow I'm going to add. So go low, a bit low, we go. This is actual, like, this isn't actually shadow. This is like parts of the armor that are actually darker that I'm just going to paint in as darker. There's not that many of them, but I just want to make it clear that there are parts of the armor that are actually a little bit darker, and some of them they're not even fleshed out, they're just impressions, but I just want to throw that in there so that's understood. Some of them are shadows though, so it's confusing, but who cares? There are no rules. The pre-established rules were there are no rules. So right here we have this thing. This whole thing is gonna be darker. Boom. Okay, so I think this might be the first sketch down. I think this literally might be it. I think I've enjoyed this. I think the first sketch might be in the bag. Let's flip it, see what it looks like. See if we still like it when we flip it. Pretty decent, I ain't got nothing against it. I think it's pretty cool. We'll go back. Oh. So, what I am thinking though is, well, a little bit of a lighter value here. And then I'm just going to throw in some scratchy lines because I like to shake things up. And then what I will do is I'll have another layer clipped and I'll just get a texture brush of some kind. I don't know which one. I don't know which texture brush. I don't even know what this does, but okay. Perfection. That is exactly what I was looking for. Something like this. Yes, look at that. Oh my days, it's beautiful. That's what we say in the UK. We say, oh my days. So y'all know. We say, oh my days. When we see something we really like, oof. On this top layer, look, we're going to get a dark grey and we're just going to scratch. We're going to scratch in. Oh my days. Then, go straight in here to that top colour layer. We're just going to put the scratches on. Put the scratches on them. You know what I mean? Put the scratches on them for real. I think I found one of my new favorite brushes when I'm doing these sketches. Life's good, man. Life's good. So I've worked in Procreate for basically 5 years now, and at first, and it's even still now, there's a part of me that prefers Photoshop because I honestly feel like Photoshop is easier to work with in terms of, making finished, refined artwork because it has more functions. But what I will say is Procreate is very much a professional software if you understand a lot of the things that are necessary to create artwork. And that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it. For me, my issue was I missed a lot of the functions, and I really felt that loss. I really felt like there was a lot of functions missing, and I still do feel like that. But because of its mobility, because I can use it anywhere, I'm sorry, Photoshop, you just don't get painted anymore because Procreate can go anywhere with me. It can go anywhere with me in the world, and I've taken it everywhere. So it's hard to even have the conversation seriously between the software. And there was a time when I was making videos asking people is Procreate even a professional software? The answer is an unequivocal yes. Procreate has been used by professionals all over the world at this point for everything. All right, so I've made that background. You see me do it, right? It's just a bunch of brush strokes. Now there's a bunch of things we can do here to make this cool. We can add a half tone to it, that looks a bit crazy, but if you zoom in, kind of looks like it's a webcomic now. Pretty cool. Or we can chromatic aberration it, which is something I do all the time, which is pretty gnarly, right? Once you've done that as well, it doesn't have to stay like that. You can do that and then you can hue saturation it and you can make it whatever colors you want. So if you want it to just be reds, if you want it to be, you know what I'm saying? So I prefer it to go kind of more over to just the reds, side of just reds, and then to even turn the brightness up a little bit or down. Boom. Yeah, so once you've done that, There's another thing you can do. It's called a bloom. You don't have to. I don't use it often. But what it'll do, it'll blow out colours a lot of the time. And it just adds something extra, right? So we'll leave that like that and we'll have a look. We'll have a look at the difference. Okay, so lastly, thing I love to do is make a smear layer. So what I'll do is, I have a bunch of brushes I made. They're called in-brush blending brushes. They're just brushes I made that blend really well. So the paint blends really well. I made these. I'm probably going to release them at some point as well, as like a $2 download or something like that. I got to start making some digital products. So here we go. Make a smear layer. And what all they are is like smoke layers, right? And then what I like to do with these layers is I like to get the smudge tool, which I have set to a custom brush as well. And I like to start smudging the smears for more texture and effect. See? So now we've got a bunch of factors at play within this piece that, you know, had no business being here, but they're here now. And it adds a lot more to what we had, right? Okay. Then, lastly, finish off this sketch with not with a bang, but, you know, we can go to my webcomic set and I have these grain brushes, right? So we can just go in, make a new layer, and we can just add some particles, some dust, some stuff like that. Boom. 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 Right? And then we can kind of smudge some of it. We don't have to keep it all. And that is it. So that's the first sketch done. First sketch done. Move on to the next one. Let's go. Boom. I've already got the canvas ready. Let's pull up our next reference. Boom. It's going to be a similar theme. I'm not sure exactly. I'm going to select one of these references. See, Pinterest is evil because what it does is it gives you cool things to look at and then it gives you more cool things to look at. So you never run out. If you can hear me clicking right now, what I'm doing is selecting new references that have just popped up that I've never seen. But I won't be swayed. I'm gonna use this one that's on my screen now. We're going in right now. So, same again. Go back to the brush that we love. You know, the brush we love is the syrup brush. Right? We're here. Boom, boom, boom. Great brush. So, for this one, we're probably going to start a little different though. Probably going to start with some grey stuff and we're going to start with some shapes. Right? And then we'll go in and we'll refine those shapes with the syrup. Right? So, we're going to establish the first few shapes of the character. Now, I like to do this because it's a little bit more of a dynamic process in the starting stages than the other way of creating. It goes straight into forms straight away, a lot faster than if you're doing it with a drawing. So it's kind of like the bridge between drawing and painting. And there's a guy called I think it's Scott Flanders. He calls himself Shape Forger or something like that. But he does a lot of stuff like this. Now, as you can see, I've instantly gone in and I've started to add values here and there. That's because I've been painting and drawing for a very long time. And for me, I skip a lot of steps because I've literally painted and drawn non-stop since 2008. So I'm just establishing here. I'm going to do this in a darker value. I'm going to establish the hand, and I'm going to establish the weapon. I am using reference. It is some kind of a ninja doll I found on Pinterest. Really, really good reference. As I said, the way I'm editing these videos, I probably won't put them on screen because it would require me to actually put in a little bit more work to put them on screen than I would actually feel like doing. But, and I apologize, guys, but sometimes I just got to get content out. It's more important to me than kind of spending excess time doing the editing. I'd like to just get the stuff out and, you know, start a conversation. So earlier, literally, I don't know, a few minutes before I started this recording, I was on Instagram and I found see, I'm not really a big Instagram guy. I used to be when I was younger, but then I realized you get shadow banned if you follow too many people. And I just kept hitting the follow button because I really liked a lot of people's artwork. So my original page ended up basically just becoming like shadow banned. So after I had to abandon it, I made a new one. And you know what? I like the new one, but I've probably followed too many people on that one too. But still, I'm going to continue to keep doing it and keep posting and whatever. But I was on Insta earlier and I came across a young lady's page and she sounded British. She made a few reels and I hit her up. I gave her a DM. I said, "You've inspired me to make some reels." And she really has. She's inspired me to kind of go forth and make some reels. So as I said, this is me doing like the shape carver style and I really enjoy it. As I said, there's a guy, I think his name is Scott Flanders. He does this basically exclusively. This is the way he works all the time. He carves shapes all the time. And that's how he establishes every character that he makes. And I did this for a while. This was a thing when I was learning a lot of things. It was a very easy way to generate characters. If you don't use this technique, I would recommend kind of like having a session of just messing around with it because it's a world-class technique. Concept artists have been using it forever. It really does work. It's great. And I would recommend it. Personally, I am kind of changing the rules a little bit though, because I'm going in and I'm just throwing in a bunch of values. I'm not being value conscious. A lot of the time when you do this type of stuff, your best bet is to kind of like limit your values and stuff. I'm not doing that. You know, I don't really care about doing that. Characters on a roof. Ooh, this character on a roof. We'll have them like. Okay, so we've got our basics going. Now, even my sword isn't on a different layer. Normally, I would put swords and stuff on a different layer because it makes it easier to kind of go through the process of just like painting into it and stuff. But I the way I used to paint was very destructive. I wouldn't care about layers. I would just have zero. You can in Procreate, but Procreate automatically does this thing where it gives you a background color, which kind of classifies as a background layer. I used to just paint in Photoshop just on the background layer. Like that would be how I would paint. And I really enjoyed painting like that. That's the one thing about Procreate that does annoy me is that there's no option to not have that. And if there is an option to not have that, please let me know. Because I'll take that off for a lot of the stuff I do and I'll just have like nothing. I don't really always need a background color. Okay, so now it's time. We've got the basic layout of how we want this to be. Now it's time to start really establishing like what it is we're gonna do. Now, another thing we can use is the lasso tool. Lasso tool is great, and that's, to be honest, that's the main tool that Scott Flanders uses when he does this stuff. He'll go in with the lasso tool. Now remember to uncheck when you've done a selection. Because if you uncheck, then you can kind of go again. It depends on if you want to go, how far you want to go with your selection. If you want to uncheck it or not, if you've finished your selection. But yeah, the lasso tool is amazing, and it helps to create a lot of shapes in a little bit more of a free flowy way than just doing it, you know, with your brush. If I was in Photoshop, it's more lasso tool I'd be using, to be honest, than brushes. Now I have to establish what the character actually looks like. So for me, you know, I'm in my samurai kind of theme, but I like to make black characters. So I've got these brushes. I downloaded the pack. I did pay for them, I believe. The curly hair brush pack. And I've been using it to make braids and stuff. It's really cool, right? For my black characters. So look, check this out. Give this guy a hairline. Boom, boom. Strong hairline. So now he has a hairline, we can start making his hairstyles, you know. And I've been doing a lot of this. We've been throwing in the braids, the dreads, because we got the brushes, right? Now, I don't know, if you just type in curly hair brush set, I think you'll be able to find this brush set. I can't remember how much I paid. I think it was like £10 or something like that. But great brush set for doing braids and stuff. And just like that, you see, I've got my whole braid stuff going on. Everything's going on. It's good. We're in a good place, you know. I think we'll go a little bit more kind of like cartoony with this one. We're not going to show this character's mouth. He's a bona fide ninja. He's you know, his mouth is never shown. He's like Kakashi, you know. It's like that one episode when they showed Kakashi's mouth. Was that even canon? You know, me personally, I don't think it was canon. I don't think that was Kakashi's mouth. But, you know, who knows, man? Who knows, man? This isn't on the reference. I'm just going to add like some extra stuff in the background on the sword. Boom! Extra little bits for your composition, people. All right, so now for me, it's the time to start like throwing in some lines. As you can see, I haven't gone back to syrup yet. I'm still here kind of using the flat brush, right? It's not because syrup's not good. It's because the flat brush is just good and it feels good. So, and it creates these little dynamic shapes, which I really enjoy the process of them just popping up out of nowhere and just being these shapes, you know. Now here's a trick. Here's a trick, guys. So we got a basic character established. Now we can clip a mask and do a multiply layer, right? Multiply layer with like one of these values. Dead simple, right? So now we can start creating some more shadows with the multiply layer, because all we're doing is basically adding more gray. So it's like no harm, no foul, basically. It's just, you can just go in and make free shadows. The lasso tool's always been great. I remember when I started to see like concept artists use the lasso tool, and I was like, yo, this is cool. And then I just kind of never went back. But then in Procreate, I'll be honest, I haven't used it that much. But I'm using it a bit more. I'm starting to use it more, but I haven't used it as much as like I would have used it in Photoshop. Because you know, the truth is there is a little bit of difference in feel between the two software. And I think that does play a part into some people's like lack of enjoyment with Procreate, because it does feel different than Photoshop. You know, there is a difference in feel that is noticeable. So what you saw me just do then, I threw back in my gray, my kind of like base gray tone, because I thought those bright spots were unnecessary. So what I'm gonna do now is go back to the syrup brush. We're in syrup mode, and we're just gonna start painting, start looking at getting some lineage in there, start creating some carnage. I'm not sure about these cartoon eyes, but they're here now. I was thinking more go for the... And people, funny, because people think I do this for Asian characters. I don't. I just like to have my characters with like the squinty eyes that aren't open. And funny thing is, quite often I draw those eyes and I don't actually finish the image with the eyes being like that. Because what ends up happening is I get the urge to actually give the person eyes. So I end up like just being like, oh, the squinty eyes is just doing this. But I'm not doing that this time. This time they're staying squinty. They can squint. And some people are just squinters, man. Some people aren't, you know. You're either a squinter or you're not, you know. Figure it out. Okay. Damn it. Figure it out. Know yourself, you know. But as I said, you know, these pieces are fun. This is fun. This is an exercise. This is, you know, doing stuff from reference, looking at, you know, dynamic, creating like a dynamic character and stuff like that. But it is fun. At its core, you know, I'm enjoying this. I'm not doing this and I'm like, oh, well, I'm not looking forward. I am enjoying this. I'm enjoying all the stages of this. So obviously earlier you see me put that hand in there and you see me do it very willy-nilly, right? Very willy-nilly, literally just like a few shapes. And that's because when doing stuff like this, you don't want to be too literal with everything. You want to kind of like have a few things kind of be kind of ambiguous. You don't want to be too much like everything's got to be perfect, you know, because you'll shoot yourself in the foot creatively and you'll limit yourself with what it is you can do. You got to keep some things loose. So even something as important as the hands, or the one hand we're going to be really showing in this piece, isn't really that much of a priority until we're ready for it to be a priority. Even the sword, for example. Like, I'm seeing a lot of potential for the sword to be like this cool, special sword that kind of like, maybe it's alive, maybe it's not. Because it kind of looks like a dinosaur head, if you really look at it. Maybe it's a dino sword. Who knows, you know. The world of character design, people, we try a lot of stuff. Thinking, do I add edge line art to everything, or do I just might not do that? Does it look good? Yeah, it looks all right. Interesting. Okay. Oh, that answered my question. There's a difference in the hands. I think this hand will be like the weapon hand. So it's like it won't even be like the other hand. Or maybe it's just like the armored hand that wears the kind of armored gear. And the other one's like just not. The other one's just out. The hand like he strokes his girlfriend's face with this hand, you know? And when I said that, I mean this hand. Okay. Go a little bit darker right here. And just trying to make the dreads make like logical sense, but it's not that deep. But this is what will happen. You'll end up like in your own mind doing little things that don't need to be done. You could have just fully left that up to interpretation and nobody would have cared. But instead, you went in, you did some refining, possibly wasted time, possibly. I've been quiet for a long time. I've just been like listening to the pen scratch, which is crazy, right? So, what I'm thinking, I think it turned into ASMR for a little bit. I'm thinking some specular highlights on this sword, man. That's what I'm thinking. Oh, look at that. Ooh, woo wee, woo wee. Specular highlights, baby. Then maybe on these hands as well. Maybe we'll establish like these hands are like mechanical or something. So some specular highlights. Boom. And then like here, bigger gap, line, do like some, make it look kind of like techie, I guess, or like mechanical to a degree, yeah. And then not so much with this hand, but still something. Yeah, I get caught up in these sometimes and I stop talking. And I need to stop that. If I was on stream though, I'd have a chat. If I was on stream, they'd be able to see me. So it'd be a little different, I guess. They could be like, hey, dude, turn your head. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, brother, what you doing? So we're talking to UK. Yo, brother. Yo, brother. Okay. We're getting somewhere. Woo! Going with the eraser real quick. Get rid of this little white spot or little gray spot. Okay, cool. It's looking like the revolution will be televised. Okay. Let's do this little taper line thing. Boom. Okay, cool. Well, I think this one's done too, right? I think we're probably done with this one as well. Each one I like to add different little finishing pieces to them. So for this one, at the back, I think I'll just make it look like it's snowing. And then at the front, make it look like it's snowing. Oh, that's a fun fact. So I said the word snowing, right? So there's this musical artist from the same area I'm from Nottingham in the UK. There's a musical artist called Snowy. He's a little younger than me. He's a few years younger than me, and people always confuse us. Like, they think we're the same person. And it's interesting because I've been told I do like events every so often. So and I'm a photographer, so I photograph a lot of events, right? So I've been to places, even when I'm at the gym, and I encounter girls, women, and they say, "Are you Snowy?" And I remember specifically, there was one girl at the gym that kept telling me that I am Snowy, right? She was adamant that I'm Snowy, right? And I said, I'm not Snowy. Went on his Instagram, I said, that's what he looks like, that's what I look like. Now, I admit this. We could possibly, we look like we could be cousins. Like, he looks like how my family looks. If I'm going to be honest, my family looks a lot like him. You know, we've got similar smiles, like we have our eyes squint the same way. There's a few things about us that are similar. I agree. You know, I've accepted it at this point, and I'm not trying to fight it. I've just accepted it. But when you've got people coming up to you telling you you are someone, it gets weird, right? You're being told by a girl at the gym, you are him. Regardless of what you're saying, I don't believe that you're not him. I know you're messing with me right now. You're him. I'm like, I'm not him. And I'm trying to tell this girl, I am not him. Me and him are two different people. I know the guy, he's cool, but we're not the same person. But I just thought, yeah, a little fun fact for y'all about me, you know. I get confused with a guy called Snowy. Decent musician from the Nottingham area, you know, decent. He does grime, if you know what grime is, if you know, in not in the UK, it's kind of hard if you know, hard to know what grime would be. Most people wouldn't know. But it's a UK style of rap that kind of taken off in the early 2000s. Some people will say the 90s. I'd say the early 2000s kind of birthed grime. As I said, sometimes I like to do the solid color thing. I think it's cool. Sometimes I don't. And I think this is sketch 2 probably done. Let's have a look at getting some smear stuff going on there real quick. So that we got the smear going. We're just gonna get the smudge tool and we're just gonna smudge it. Same with this one at the bottom. It's a cool smear, but we're just gonna smudge it. Little tricks, man, little tricks. You don't have to use this stuff, but you know, it can help. It can help. I'm gonna, what's this? I'm gonna merge these two layers together and make a duplicate and merge them again. I'm gonna make another duplicate and I'm gonna, on the top one, I'm gonna add actually I need to make another duplicate. So the top one, I'm gonna do a chromatic aberration, which is like the 3D thing, right? Look. Yeah, and then I'm just gonna get a soft eraser. So in my recents or in my starred, there's a soft brush right there. I'm just gonna soft erase a lot of the stuff I don't want from this chromatically aberrated version. Now remember, with chromatic aberration, it doesn't have to be this color, especially if you have a black and white thing. So if you have a black and white thing, you can change your chromatic aberration to kind of match whatever kind of color you want. You know, you can mess with the saturation or not, whichever way you want. I'm really drawn to red all the time, but you know, sometimes it's not right. See, the bluey purple looks cool, right? The bluey purple looks cool. But as I said, it don't need to be that saturated. You can drop that down. There you go. So it's just on the fringes of the lines. I'm cool with that. Okay. So this is where we are right now. We can still erase what we don't want. There's still a bunch of stuff we can erase to kind of get a lot of our details back. Because when you do chromatic aberration, it basically like obliterates a lot of your details. Because it's kind of blurring and distorting the lens that you're using. But for some stuff it looks really good, and for some stuff it just doesn't look good at all. Let's have a look without it. Let's have a look with it. So I kind of like it with it. So I think that's where I am. I think I'm cool with it. I think for me, I'm just going to blur this background layer, or I'll even chromatically aberrate it a little bit. See what happens. Interesting. I think that's it for me. I think for this piece, I think this has been an interesting process. I think I'll leave it there. I think we'll just do, oh, sorry guys, I was erasing the wrong stuff. I'm on the wrong layer. I think for this piece, I think we've done enough. I think for this kind of video, I think the the 2 sketches are enough. I don't want to overload. I don't want to go too long. The 2 sketches are great. So I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm going to drop my signature in the bottom corner right here. Or my logo in the bottom corner right here. And I'm going to kind of carry on with, do some animation in Fresco or Procreate Dreams. I probably won't stream or record that. But guys, here's the final. Have a look at it for yourself for the next, I don't know, 5 minutes or 2, not 5 minutes, but for the next minute or so. And thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, share if you want to. It helps me get off the ground, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. But yeah, just to put it out there, I'll be creating more stuff. I'll be trying to create short form content for Instagram Reels. I am on Instagram. I am at Thigi Draws. It should be in the description of this video. I might even put my Instagram tag in the corner of this video. I've got a lot of things coming this year. I've got a clothing brand. I've got some art books and stuff coming. Well, hopefully maybe 2025 for the art books. But as I said, you know, we're going for a lot of different things. So, you know, there's a lot we're doing. And, you know, there's a lot we're trying to make happen. I really enjoy kind of like just the process of all of it. I really enjoy kind of like seeing where the creativity can take me. So you guys, thank you. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.